Huffman. Here's Huffman slipping through. Down the middle. Azqueta scores! In the words of the great Ron Burgundy, that has escalated quickly.
This is MASL Monday. Welcome, everybody. I'm Alex Bass-Javansky, bringing you the best from the Major Arena Soccer League. Welcome to everyone listening on Sirius XM FC Channel 157 and watching on MASL TV on both YouTube and on Twitch. And I'm joined today by a familiar face and my brother in arms in terms of our us being follically challenged. Anyway, I got the shine on it today, man.
Yeah, buddy.
And I can see yours too. It's producer Phil Lavanco. Phil,
I mean, if it works to wear sport coats and be bald, it might as well work for us, right?
All right, brother, man. Love it. Let's talk soccer. Let's talk MASL because it's big. Just listen. We're in the playoffs. Conference finals are upon us. Today we're going to touch on all kinds of stuff. But what just happened in the last hour are the awards, the league awards. The nominees came out earlier in the day. The award winners have been released on the MASL Award show, which yours truly, I take a small bow here, managed to put together with help from yourself, Phil. And we're going to talk about the award winners today, among other things. Let's start with the biggie, Phil. Nick Pereira,
right? The anti-Oscars. We're just going to start right away with the big one instead of
the big guns. And Nick Pereira, MVP, Tacoma Stars. To be honest, he did get my vote. I'll give you my reasons momentarily, aside from the fact that yes, he led the league in scoring. But agree or disagree on that one, Phil? What do you think?
Well, so you're going to hit me with this right off the bat immediately. I disagree. I voted for Boris Pardo. My picks is going to be out on Twitter. You can see them at _HeyYoPhil. So, but yes, I voted for Boris Pardo. My reasons are simple. San Diego Soccer should not be disqualified for being an excellent elite team. And as Eric has said on our show many times, right, it was a historic year for a goalkeeper, sub 4 GAA. So for me, it's simple. You can't penalize somebody for being on an excellent team, right? In fact, you get the best of every team you play against each time. So I'll concede Nick Pereira. Those numbers are, they're hard to ignore, right? And that's sort of how the voters went here. But no, I'm on the other side of things, and I'll cede the floor to the winner here of why Nick is the winner.
Look, it was so tough, and Boris for me was a 1B, and Nick was a 1A. What Boris accomplished this season was unbelievable. To me, the definition of most valuable player is the player that's the most valuable to their team. Now, would the Tacoma Stars have made the playoffs, even the play-in game, but would they have made it without Nick Pereira? The answer is no. Absolutely not. 70 points is great. Leading the league in scoring is great. But if you look at the spread again, I brought this up from first to second on that team, 45-point spread between him and the second leading scorer on the Stars. They don't even sniff the playoffs without Nick Pereira. If you took Boris Pardo off the Sockers, do they still make the playoffs? Absolutely, they do. Now, they're not as great of a team, obviously, because Boris is the best goalkeeper in the MASL, but they still make the playoffs. They are that deep, they are that good. The same cannot be said for the Tacoma Stars without Nick Pereira. So he got my MVP vote.
One simple rebuttal before we move on. You don't have to sort of respond to this. I'll let this float out, and the comment section can answer my rebuttal.
Okay.
If the definition is most valuable to the team, that sort of grades the curve more to mediocre team, right? Because you're building a mediocre team and your shining light apart from the rest of that is going to look inherently more valuable than an outstanding player on an outstanding team.
Agreed.
When everybody hums. That should not be a disqualifier when it comes to MVP. There's a little bit of, it's semantical, of course, right?
Yeah.
But that would be my rebuttal there. But yeah, in the comments, let's go. Point. Tell me why I'm wrong.
I'm not going to tell you. No, it's a very fair point, Phil. Absolutely. And if they don't make that play-in game, I think for a lot of us, that vote doesn't go in there. You got
always been my argument as well.
Right. And the same thing last year, a lot of people with Ian Bennett were saying, well, if Milwaukee didn't make the playoffs, could they have voted for Bennett as the MVP as well? Right. So that was an argument that happened last year as well. Thankfully they did, because
I believe I started that one.
I think he did. And Ian, of course, did win last year and deservedly so.
Yeah.
So, okay,
Sure.
great.
Shout outs to Lucas Roque, though, Gordy Gerson, two guys who had phenomenal seasons in the East.
Unbelievable seasons, no question about it. Okay, let's move to a newcomer. Gabriel Costa of the Empire Strikers. He got my vote on that one as well. Incredible season, second on his team in scoring, leading rookie in scoring. He looked like a veteran out there. Incredible season. Did Gabriel get your vote?
Yes, he did. You'll hear a lot of disagreeing with the voting groups for me on this show, but this one, overwhelming evidence for Gabriel Costa to be the newcomer of the year. I think the game that sort of solidified it for me was that game at home against San Diego, where he sort of just took over the game. 3 or 4 goals, 6 points, something, maybe even 7 points.
He looked like a veteran.
He was on fire. I mean, he was on fire.
Yeah.
Everyone you talk to in this league that plays this game says it takes a little while for people to adjust to the indoor, to the board, sort of get used to running shifts and things like that. And there was no learning curve for Gabriel Costa. He came on.
I think he was even like Luis Morales last year was spectacular. I think Gabriel had 10 points more than Luis did in his Rookie of the Year campaign last year. So impressive stuff for sure. Goalkeeper, I don't think there's any debate about this one coming from you. I would have an argument to be made, even though I agree Boris is the best goalkeeper in the MASL this season. But also William Van Zela getting a lot of consideration, second in goals against average on that small floor in Baltimore where he faces a ton of shots, and you've got to be on your toes at all time. And obviously, to your point before, shouldn't, talking about the powerful team in front of them and stuff, but obviously Baltimore not nearly as astute defensively as San Diego as well. But yes, keeper of the year, Boris Pardo. Tough to argue that one, Phil.
Yeah, super short segment here, right? Like, Boris Pardo's the best goalkeeper in the league. He's played amazing. Sub 4 GAA on the best team in the league. There's not a lot of analysis here, right? It's not hard for me to argue that one. I will say on your Van Zela point, I think the best goalkeeper in the East was Andrew Coughlin. I don't think Utica is anywhere near a season that they had without. He was unstoppable. He was a brick wall back there. I mean, he made saves.
Great game yesterday too. Great game against Milwaukee. He
had that game when Utica beat Florida in OT. He had that save to sort of seal, send it to OT too. I mean, he was outstanding. It was an outstanding year for Coughlin.
Agreed. And defender of the year, and it's tough to pick. It's tough to pick a single defender. Rafa Alves of Florida got it. He did lead the league in blocks with 59 blocks. And Chad Vanegrift also, making that Elite Six as well. Mm-hmm. So great defense in Florida. No problem with Rafa Alves getting it. Of course, you could have taken any number of San Diego Soccers also and put them in that Elite Six, which none of them made it actually defensively. And quite a few guys from the Soccers as well could have got the nod for Defender of the Year. But it is Alves. I've got no problem with it. But your thoughts on that?
Well, I voted for Rojo. I voted for Juan Manuel Rojo. I thought, again, right, like when you're building out your MVP, you're building out your awards, you're building out your narrative here. San Diego overwhelmingly was the best team in the league. So when you look for all of these awards, you go straight to the best team in the league. Now, me and my ridiculous eyes, right, it's difficult to look at defending a great defender. But for me, in the way he ended the season to offense, defense, I'm going to use a hockey term, right? Two-way player.
Yeah.
Hits both sides, right?
200-foot player, no question.
Yeah. So for me, he was the defender of the year. But as we all sort of concede, defenses, we don't all know what we're looking for as voters, right? And we're all looking for different things, right? Obviously, when you're on top of the block category too, that sort of helps your case. So Rafa Alves had 2 amazing goal line clearances in Kansas City to help seal a deal that probably stuck in the voters' minds, and it's hard to ignore. It's hard to ignore those spectacular highlight reel moments.
For sure. Coach of the year, Phil Salvaggio, San Diego Soccers, again, overwhelming favorite when it came to that. What are your thoughts on Phil winning it? And he picked up his 200th win also
Yeah.
career behind the bench for the Sockers this season.
You will hear a nay complaint from one Phil to another. This is the Phil union, right? We don't speak ill of each other. No, it's so hard. It's hard when you're the best team in the league. You get the other team's best efforts every single time, right? There's no off days, right? Because everyone's going to measure against you. We see this in every league, the NBA, the NHL, right? Like you're getting everyone's best, right? Especially with the amount of games that San Diego won throughout the year and that winning streak, and it ticks and it ticks and it ticks and it ticks, right? You're going to play teams that want to knock you off, that want to be.
You're their Super Bowl every single game. Every team is going to be up for you. You've got that on your chest, the bullseye on your chest. Every team is gunning for you. No, I feel unbelievable. Loved really quick the part where they were down 3-0 to Monterey, and I featured this on the award show as well.
Yeah,
where they asked Phil at halftime, down 3-0 to Monterey, and he said, "Yeah, we got no character, we got no heart right now." And she said,
"Yeah," and you can say things like that.
Yeah, what do you need to do in the second half?
When you're Phil?
Yeah, what do you need to do in the second half? We need to have some heart, And then they went out and they ended up winning. I think it was 7-4 or something, the final score. But that's Phil Salvaggio. Those are the Sockers. They are a well-oiled machine. Really quick. Also, a case could have been made for a few other guys. The two other finalists were Tattoo and Juliano Oliveiro. Tattoo, great job with Mesquite, the legendary player, of course. He did a great job with Mesquite this year. They backed into the playoffs, but they've got a great future there.
Yeah, actually, I voted for Everton Moreira from Utica, right? I thought, and we're going to talk about this. Is going to be theme of everything that I say. But TLDR, Utica at the beginning of the season, no es bueno. End of the year, they sort of figured it out, right? So my vote for this year was for Everton because I didn't think much of Utica entering the year, and they impressed me towards the end of the year, and a lot of that had to do with coaching.
Yeah, I mean, they were one goal away from making the conference final, so a heck of a year in Utica. Okay,
and we talked about how many goals they shipped. At the beginning of the year, they dressed rosters with no defenders, crazy stuff.
Yeah, crazy stuff. Okay, so that's it, man. We've covered our award winners. We didn't miss anyone, right? No, we got everyone there.
I don't think so. I mean, we can make one up, right? Favorite player, favorite bald player.
Well, we are.
Who would be your favorite bald player?
My favorite bald player. Oh, we're gonna have to get back to that one. We'll cover that one.
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
We've got sort of some other awards here to go, our own stuff. So, but let's talk about the postseason. We've got about 15 minutes left during the show. Let's talk about the postseason, just a bit about what's gone down. Because, I mean, we just came off the Utica-Milwaukee series, which was a doozy. That's my series of the postseason so far. And best game also. I mean, the second game and the knockout game that took place yesterday were phenomenal contests. You were there. I mean, the atmosphere was off the charts, wasn't it, in Utica? Is that your best game, best series of the playoffs so far?
No, I think the best game was the Kansas City one. I know you did that whole line lean up, and I'm going to sort of take it in a different direction. But the best game I've seen so far in the playoffs is that Kansas City playing game with Utica. I mean, it was a phenomenal game. Goals left to right, drama, narrative, everything. It had everything you wanted in the game.
I agree, and I was kind of saving it because my goal of the postseason and possibly the year was from that.
Yeah, we're going to probably talk about
that
a little bit, huh?
A bit more about that one. Yeah. Anyway, who is your MVP of the postseason to this point? And it could be a player that's still alive or a player that's been eliminated already. But who has been your most valuable player in the postseason?
It's hard to ignore what Christian Segura did for Utica. I mean, 8 points in 3 games, right? Showed up with that highlight reel goal to seal it in Kansas City. Had a hat trick in that game. 2 goals in the game to sort of send it to the mini game, right? And that opener was phenomenal. That game was trying to jackhammer a brick wall in Willie B, right? Save after save after save. And that crowd was waiting to burst, and it was nothing for the longest time. And Segura had a goal to open the scoring in game 2. That was a phenomenal sort of turn and volley that Willie had absolutely no chance. to stop, and the roof went off. So what a goal! What a. I mean, you couldn't have asked more. I mean, he went 9 games without scoring in the end of the year. Right, was playing deeper than I've ever seen him play for Utica, but showed up huge. Now they're out now, right? So there's going to be better. MVP, people are going to rise.
He currently leads the scoring. He's tied with Marcel Lepe of Milwaukee, who's a great
candidate.
He's, I mean, right up there as well. If I was voting for a candidate, I would pick Christian as well. Also because he came through in the biggest moment on the biggest stage with the golden goal. But it's a great performance in the playoffs. Let's just quickly talk a little bit more about Willie B's performance yesterday, because he had game savers, especially in the knockout game. But what a pickup he's been this season for Milwaukee. He was just phenomenal in that playoff series, wasn't he?
It's why he got him, right? Like, that's the sole reason why he got him. He started out the year on fire, and then I imagine, a little bit of lull. He had to leave a game hurt, right? So I imagine he's dealing with something. Not that I know, right? But a little bit of a lull towards the end of the year. But I mean, he was incredible, and you saw how much it meant to him to win the game. After the mini game, running around the field, shirt off, of course, right? Eat a carb. Come on, really. You could see the emotion of playing in a game like that and then winning a game like that.
Yeah. It was a remarkable performance. What an atmosphere in that arena. I'm so jealous that you were there, man. Oh, just great stuff. Utica fans were just phenomenal, especially in the playoffs. Okay, one team from the playoffs that maybe you were expecting a bit more from it. I think we agreed on this one.
Yeah, there's only one answer here.
There's
only one answer, right?
Yeah.
Tacoma, because everything is in your hands, right? You have who will be, the MVP of this league, Nick Pereira. You have that home game, that playing against Mesquite, who's missing their captain.
They lost 8 out of 10. I lost 8 of their
They lost 8 out of 10.
Back into the playoffs.
And, it was back and forth early. That goal got disallowed from Philippe Souza. And then it was just all Mesquite from there. And it was just it never made it close. So for me, the answer to that, who I wish showed up a little bit more, it's got to be Tacoma.
All those teams in the West, though, so funny. The 3, 4, and 5 all backed into the playoffs. There was no red hot team that went in, but I was expecting more from Tacoma. Yeah, true.
Yeah. And it showed too just how fast they left the playoffs, right?
Oh yeah. How about your goal of the postseason so far? I think that we are agreed on this one as well. It's the one I was saving for this moment to talk about, Christian. It was the goal against Kansas City, the golden goal. One that is up there for me for goal of the year altogether. The footwork, the biggest stage, the biggest moment, the big players come through, and that is what he did there.
Don't take my word for it. Go watch ESPN. It made ESPN. You know what I mean? So if ESPN calls it the best goal of the week, as they did on Football America, it's the best goal of the week. You don't need me to tell you.
Yeah, and Ray with a great call on the winning goal as well. As he's done all year. It is tough to call play-by-play all by yourself.
He had I'm going to call out Razor because Razor and I are friends. Last year, there was a ridiculous volley from Domenico Vitali. I think it was against Baltimore. And he was talking about something else, and he butchered the whole call. And I told him he butchered the call at the time. But Segura, he nailed the call. So kudos, Ray, on this one. You got your paybacks from last year.
Great job, Ray. Calling play-by-play on your own is not an easy thing to do.
I have no idea. I've never done it.
Yeah. Just reminder to everyone who's listening or watching, this is MASL Monday. Listening on Sirius XMFC channel 157. You can listen to us every Monday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time. And you can watch us on MASL TV, on YouTube, and on Twitch. And, of course, all throughout the postseason, Phil, people can watch the games, playoff games, MASL games, live on Twitch. And the archive of all the games there from throughout the season is there on Twitch as well. So that transitions us into the regular season. Let's talk about a few things that we observed from
our superlatives, right?
Yeah,
superlatives here.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about a team that surprised you the most first in a good way. Which team was it?
So I said it before a little bit, right? It's the team in my backyard, Utica. Now you're sitting there and you're saying, Phil, you're a GD homer. That's all you talk about are the Blues. But everyone says it all the time. Now, but I will tell you, going into this year, they were not good, right? They were shipping goals left, right, and center. They were dressing games with no defensemen. I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs. If you asked me at the beginning of the year, I would have told you there's no way they're going to make the playoffs.
Well, they were porous. Porous as well.
They were very, very bad.
On that first, yeah. No question about it.
So what does Utica do? They acquire Stefan Mijatovic, solidify the back line. Darren Toby comes back, further solidifies the back line. The numbers are there. You know, they were giving up 4.5 goals a game, I think, with the two of them in the lineup. You have to take out those Mexico games. But yes, they surprised me in a good way because I didn't expect much from them. And then they made a run. They made a run in the playoffs, which was more than I would have. I would have lost money at the beginning of the year.
So I've got two parts to this, and the second one is which team disappointed you the most. I'm going to go.
Yeah, just roll with both.
I've got the same team. So the team that surprised me the most in a good way, first of all, was the Empire Strikers. Coming off a terrible finish to the season last year where they missed lost 8 games in a row, crashed out of the postseason, lost 4 games in a row to start the season, then go on this run where at one point they won 6 in a row. I think they won 10 of 12. They were rolling. They ended the San Diego Soccer's 30-game win streak. Frank Taiyu on fire, Rookie of the Year, Newcomer of the Year, and Gabriel Costa. Mohamed Ndiaye coming on, Chris Toth, nominee for Goalkeeper Player of the Year. They looked like the team that was going to challenge San Diego the most. I believe they made it up into second place at one point. So yeah, I was most surprised by the Empire Strikers in a good way, which takes me to which team were we disappointed with the most? And on the flip side of that, for me, it was the Empire Strikers. For the reasons that I just named, they were cruising, looking fantastic. And then, like carbon copy of last year, they lose their final 6 games of the season. Now, they did have Chihuahua, they did have San Diego in some of those games, but they still lost their last 6 games to miss the playoffs on the last day of the season, last game of the season anyway. And they had a chance going into the final weekend, Phil. They had the chance. All they needed to do was pick up 1 point, and they couldn't do it. And they missed it. So that is my most disappointing team of the season. Apologies, Empire. I love the organization. I love the purple. But there's no other way to put it, man. It was disappointing end to their season.
Don't love the uniforms, though. Very hard to
read.
Purple. No. You can't read the uniforms. It's very disorienting. I agree with you. Empire is the most team I expected more from. It's very disorientating, too, when you fly cross country, go to one of the most spectacular sporting events of the year, ignore the indoor soccer game for a weekend, which happens to be the critical weekend, and find out Empire didn't make the playoffs. Just very, very disorienting.
Phil was in LA, and he's a total East Coaster, newbie to LA traffic, and he couldn't make the game on time because of LA traffic, which of course I'm sure that the doctor and Philly are not going to let you hear the end of that. The traffic.
That's if they would talk to me.
Okay.
I said I was going. I said, I'm in. I'm coming. I look up and it's like 2.5 hours to drive 45 miles or something ridiculous. And I'm like, this is not happening.
Anyone who lives in LA is probably laughing right now and going,
I know.
I know. Just things, Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll get back to Dallas in a second if we have time. I don't want to kick someone while they're down. Game of the year for the regular season. What was yours, Phil? And by the way, we got about 4.5 minutes. So
okay, quickly. Zach Reg gets 5 goals against his former team, 12-6 Comets Tropics. That game was spectacular. It had narrative everywhere on it. There's not a lot of must-see TV games in our league. Week in, week out. That one was must-see TV, and it delivered everything.
It did. I mean, there's nothing finer than scoring 5 goals against the team that traded you. You always get up.
Well, and the joy that you saw and the relief that you saw, like visibly coming out of Zach. at the end of the game.
He's sticking it in their face. There's no question about it, and you got a lot of joy out of that.
Yeah.
This might sound like a weird one because it was a 7-3 game, but San Diego beating Empire on March 19th, it was 7-3, tied 3-3 going into the fourth. And we had Craig Elston on the show the next day. And he even said this was one of his favorite games of the year. It was playoff atmosphere off the charts. The crowd was going nuts. 5 blue cards, 3 yellow cards. It was violent at times. It was chippy. It was in your face. It was like 2 prize fighters going toe-to-toe in the ring, seeing who was going to get knocked out. And it was the strikers that went down ultimately, but it was one heck of a game, Phil, but I think the most playoff atmosphere of any game that I saw during the regular season. Anyway,
Hard to argue that one for sure.
We're going to agree on the save of the year, and it was Mr. Pardo,
my
March
MVP
26th against Monterey. 30 seconds left, I think it was, or something in the game. Unbelievable save, and that was your choice too, wasn't it?
The game that allowed Tacoma to back into the playoffs.
Yes.
For our narrative friends out there as well. Yes. It was the best save of the year. Hands down.
The only drawback about that was we normally get multiple angles, and there was only one angle that we showed because Monterey was screaming the ball had actually gone over the line. Impossible to tell from the one camera angle that we had. To be fair, the official was right there, though. You can see, gave the indication right away, no goal. Yeah. So he was in the best position to see out of anyone. Spectacular. Let's finish off with the goal of the regular season.
Okay. This is our Oscars, right? We finish with the goal of the year, right? We end most shows with our favorite goal of the week, goal of the year. I think it's got to be Cavallo's goal in Dallas, the bike kick, right? It was spectacular. It was a spectacular volley off the boards. I mean, it was a wonderful goal.
There were a lot of Dom Francis had a great one for Harrisburg. There were a lot of really good bicycle ones. I'm cheating. I kind of took 2. They both happened the same weekend, but I took Edgar Gonzalez's bicycle kick against Monterey on March 24th. But also that same weekend, not as acrobatic, but Victor Ligwe of Dallas danced through half the Tacoma Stars. I think he had the ball for about 12 seconds in a row, dribbling through off the boards and then finally going top shelf. That was an unbelievable goal as well. Both worthy, including the bicycle kick when you're talking about by Carvalho.
Jamie Lovegrove's chip. Jamie Lovegrove's chip was a great goal.
There were a lot of great goals. Nick Pereira, by the way, his 400th point, chipping it over the keeper, going off the glass, going in, chesting it in. Yeah. Another beautiful goal for your 400th career point as well. Something else, but
Gordy Gerson had a chip against the Milwaukee. There's a ton of this league it's made for just incredible goals.
It truly is
made for it.
And Gordy, how many game-winning goals did he end up with this year? Do we know the actual stat on that?
We do know the actual stat. If you will allow me time to vamp,
it's worth it.
So I can find the web page.
Several overtime goals, but just a ton of game-winning goals this year.
Tons.
Game-winning Gordy.
Game-winning Gordy. 5. 7.
7
game-winning goals.
It was,
who's your Stanley Cup winner?
Toronto Maple Leafs, of course. We've already planned the parade, like we do every year.
Get out of here.
Well, we won our first game of the season and we planned the parade. No, honestly,
that series is going to be.
I've been abused since 1967. I'm not that old, but I've been abused my entire life by the Maple Leafs, and I just keep coming back for more. Are my hopes high? No, but I'll be cheering.
No.
So, who's yours, real quick?
Favorites? I have no idea.
Who's your team? Rangers?
The Rangers.
Islanders?
I'm a Ranger.
Rangers.
Fan.
Yeah, you're
Ranger. Oh wow. Well, Philly.
I don't know, man. New York.
I'm a Ranger fan. So 94 is. I've been Rangers. Only the Rangers can build a super team, and
Phil, you are the best, brother. Thank you so much for taking the time to join today. We will do this again. And thank you to everyone for listening on Sirius XM FC channel 157 and watching on MASL TV. I'm Alex Bastiavansky. I will talk to you next Monday.